Welcome, welcome, welcome in the ring, wherever you guys are joining us from tonight, at home here in Guyana or around the world. Let's fight, folks. Well, quite a development here in Guyana. Blackout, we are being made to understand as we're coming on almost nationwide, there is blackout. Someone was telling us on the telephone just a little while ago, there might be a shutdown in the interconnected system, or as they say here, cascading shutdowns. Folks, it's 2022. It's the beginning of the year. It's the 10th day of the new year, and there is, from all reports we're hearing, nationwide blackout. Folks, you're coming on the live stream. We invite you guys to share the live stream wherever you guys are joining us from. We hope that our backup system holds as long as possible so we can be on air to bring you the valid and credible information. We're going to try to be here with you as long as we can on our backup system. That being said, folks, quite a bit of information to share with you guys, and we don't want to waste time at all. I'm looking to see what the folks are telling me behind the scenes as regards power at our end, folks. So good to see each and every one of you, wherever you guys are joining us from around the world, folks. Welcome in the ring. Let's fight. So much to talk about this evening, and it's so good to see so many of you on the live stream as well. 10th day of the new year, and in the Cooperative Oil Producing Republic, there's blackout. Elizabeth Williams, good to see you. Onesta Ward-Dean, good to see you. Let us know how you guys are receiving our audio, receiving the visuals. Carl Fordyce, good to see you as well. Gwyneth Jones, we see you out there. Deborah Halley, we see you too. Elizabeth Williams, Arvil Blackett, we see each and every one of you, and we're really hoping that we get back full power on the grid so that we can reconnect and we can ensure that we get to program time with you guys. Quite a few. I hope it's not because we got a few things to talk about tonight, them guys giving me blackout. But that being said, folks, share the live stream wherever you guys are joining us from. I don't know about you, but we got the fight card, and we are fired up. Sheldon Reynolds and Karima Mohammed and Jackie Beard, Dennis London Welshman, Jamal Aziz. We're fired up at this end, guys, and we are ready to go. Shawnette Haley and Rochelle Pollard, Kanaya Mingo, Jamal Aziz, fired up at this end, guys, and ready to go. So glad to see so many of you joining us nonetheless, wherever you're picking us up from this evening. Why don't you share that live stream? Pamela Peters is getting us from Linden. Good to see you, Pamela. Guys, let us know how you're receiving the audio. Even though we're not operating on full power, Donna Simon, we want to ensure that we have a professional live stream as possible. Bear with us, guys. This is not no issue with our end, but it's the national grid has blackout currently, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. That's what the PPP government is giving to us. 2022, 10th day of the new year. Volmay Wilson, Onesta Ward-Dean, Orin Don Cook, 10th day of the new year, and it's blackout. Good to see Brooklyn is in the ring. Brooklyn is in the ring. When last Brooklyn had a blackout? Brooklyn had a blackout this evening. A lot of people, heads would have to roll. If Brooklyn had a blackout this evening, heads would have to roll. Heads would have to roll, certainly. Nonetheless, it's good to see you. Lynn McDonald says she's reading us loud and clear. Jackie Beard, good to see you. Everett Small, John Raymond, Chisung Henry says it's Blackout Monday. We don't doubt you. We don't doubt it's Blackout Monday at all. And guys, I just want to make sure that we bring you the valid and credible information at our end. Coretta Braffit. And we've been subtly improving our systems here, where this issue doesn't plague our program, because we understand how these jagabats operate. And so Sheldon Wilson and all the other fantastic folks joining us around the world, we have been slowly putting systems in place so that we aren't affected when these guys choose to have blackout. This is the country that we're living in. Instead of going forward, we're going backward. It's not forward ever under them, it's backward ever. Right? It's not forward ever, it's backward ever, forward never. That is their mantra. And that is why the 10th day of the new year, we have blackout at our end. And we are touching base with a couple of folks across the country. We're getting a sense that is a nationwide, what they call cascading shutdowns. We're looking forward to see what excuses they make this evening. Guys, if you're joining us from Guyana, some of you might be on data on your smartphones. Let us know if you have blackout at your end, so we can get a good sense of what is happening. If you're joining us from Guyana, you're on data, and you have blackout perhaps at your end. Let us know. Let us know. We want to know. Kimron Augustus, good to see you. Good to see you. Onessa Wardeen and Warnella Garnett. All you beautiful, fantastic folks. Great to see each and every one of you. And thanks so much for joining the live stream. We are fired up here, guys, and we are ready to go. And we hope that you guys are as well. Ingrid King, Alexis Arthur, John Raymond, Denise London Welchman, Onessa Wardeen, Abigail O'Neil Pasal, and all you other fantastic, fantastic folks. Tessina, good to see you there, guys. I'll be the first to admit that I'm a little under the weather, but we're fighting forward. We are fighting forward. So not only am I under the weather, the guys have chosen to give us blackout tonight in the national capital city. You know, folks who've lived overseas for a long time could perhaps have no reference point, with what blackout is, because you live in that kind of country where people take these things seriously, providing power to their citizenry in the 21st century. It's not like that back where we are. It is not like that, folks, back where we are here. But folks, so glad that you guys can join us. Share the live stream wherever you guys are joining us from. And we want to see those emojis as well. Joylyn Cook, Gloria Chester, we want to see those emojis as well. Carl Fordyce says it's COVID-19 blackout. Well, it's that too, right? Deshaun Alexander says on the East Coast there is light. Well, we're following that. Yep. We're following all of the. We're trying, well, at least trying to follow some of the notations there. And it seems as though we've just had power restored at our end here. Well, we're happy about that. We're happy about that. Guys, good to see you nonetheless. We are ready at our end to get into the fight card. Folks, I guess you know what? I should clap because we had power restored. Maybe that is what we should be doing as a compliment to the install regime. We should be clapping in satisfaction that we've had power restored to us. That being said, folks, I don't know about you, but I am fired up. I am ready to go, ready to get into the fight card, guys, and I hope you are as well. If you just give me a minute, guys, we will be right back with you. 1 second. Yep, fired up and ready to go at our end, making sure that all is well where we are. Good to see hundreds of you who've already joined the live stream. Guys, we would have it no other way. Good to see the hundreds of you who have joined the live stream. Welcome in the ring, folks. Welcome in the ring to each and every one of you, wherever you guys are joining us from around the world. It is our distinct privilege to have each and every one of you, wherever you're joining us from. Rita Narayan, Patricia Asana, Jamal Aziz, oh my, Lorianne Samuels, Janet Edwards, Anto Douglas, Michelle Corica, Volmay Wilson, Gwenna Jones, Brent Mentor, Carol Noble. Good to see all of you guys. We want to see those emojis as well. Where are you guys joining us from this evening? We want to know that. We want to see those emojis. And we want to have those shares. Carlton Murray says in Nandi Park, there is blackout as well. Folks, peace and power nonetheless in 2022. Thanks for that reminder there. Let's fight, guys. We are ready, fired up at our end and ready to go. What about you guys? Last to discuss tonight, Catfish. Why don't we start here? Why don't you and I start here? You know, every day, we're going to have something under this sub-theme. Catfish, this subtopic, catfish. It's always something happening home with this administration, with this install regime. Just today, we saw the Article 13 group reprimanding the administration, expressing concerns over what they call the government's continuous constitutional violations. Them boys ain't got time with the Constitution, you know. Don't let me fool myself. Them boys got no time with the Constitution. It's about me, myself, and I. That is how it has always been. Me, myself, and I. And that is why later on in the program, you can hear the Prime Minister and them boys in the private sector, how they're operating. No one wants to take responsibility for the violations that are occurring. No, let's just move on. Let's just pretend these things aren't happening. And so we saw again this group recently formed called the Article 13 group, telling the government your constitutional violations are too many. We are going with this. You all think Catfish care about that? You all think Papa Jagabat care about that? But we are happy that there are lots of individuals, there are lots of NGOs, there are lots of groups like this one, Article 30, who are raising their voices. And that is what ought to be happening in a democratic society. Whatever happened to the Guardians? Whatever happened to the Guardians? Ladies and gentlemen, around the world, whatever happened to the Guardians? Well, we're following that. We are following that. Moving on, folks. Moving on. Catfish. Catfish. Well, we're being made to understand that the high level delegation out of the Commonwealth is in Guyana, and they've been meeting with the administration. We ain't hearing exactly what they're talking about, but we know they have been meeting with the administration. Adele Semple, they're very tight-lipped. Catfish them. These are the people who boast about transparency, accountability, good governance, rule of law, and all of that. And they are the biggest violators. The biggest, Faye Ferdinand, Pamela McKenzie, they are the biggest violators. Right? Onessa Wardin, Cameron Augustus, yes. When they are the biggest, Tamara Haynes, they are the biggest violators. And who could talk more than them about transparency, good governance, accountability than these jagabats? So all we have is photographs that tell us that Baroness Scotland, the Commonwealth Secretary General, is here with a delegation and they're meeting with the administration. We don't know if it's the oil, this new, what do you call it, the Natural Resource Fund Act that everybody in this country is against besides this PPP cabal. If that is part of the subject of the discussion, extrajudicial killing, we don't know exactly what it is because they're so tight-lipped, you see. They're so tight-lipped. But what we do know is that a very high-level delegation out of the Commonwealth is here, led by Baroness Scotland, and they have been meeting with the Catfish-installed regime. That much we know. I guess we'll have to figure the rest out later on. Joylyn Cook, that's how it is. Alvin Prince, Melissa April, Glennis Bingo Bourne, that's how it is. We got to figure the rest out later on. Moving on, because we're supposed to be having some guests this evening. So I want to come to the end of the fight card pretty quickly. We're supposed to be joined, folks, coming up by Amanza Walton-Desir, Jermaine Figueira, and the one and only, the General Secretary of the Ghana Teachers Union and our Member of Parliament, Coretta McDonald, is supposed to be joining us as well, folks. Supposed to be joining us as well. So we got a full lineup of guests this evening. But moving on, National Assembly. Now you all know the Speaker recently issued a statement after the opposition said that they had no confidence in him and how he was one-sided and biased. And he issued a statement stating that he has tried to be fair, he has tried to be impartial, he has tried to have his rulings be in keeping with other rulings of the National Assembly and within the standing orders. Nonsense. It's nonsense. He is partisan and he's biased. Partisan and biased. And quite recently, Starbuck News, they were doing the numbers and they told us it has been 71 days since the Speaker is yet to provide an update to the opposition on the opposition's gas to shore motion. Yeah, former Minister David Patterson, former Minister of Infrastructure David Patterson, brought this motion to the House seeking some clarification on lots of pertinent issues that are happening in oil and gas. Lo and behold, this Speaker keeps ducking the motions. Is that the only one, you know? The opposition is never right in the National Assembly. There isn't a motion that gets on the order paper from the opposition. There isn't a point of order that isn't overruled by the Speaker that is brought by the opposition. He is biased and he's one-sided. And there was Starbucks News today pointing out 71 days since he ducking this motion from the opposition on their oil and gas policy. Critical, pertinent questions are to be asked. And the man ducking it. He ducking it. That's what's happening. That is what is happening. Moving on to the fight card, folks. Crime. Spiraling out of control. We just hear him about big boss in cocaine. We just hear him about boss in ganja. But the intellectual authors, we are not seeing them being prosecuted. But it's the man with the 3 grams of marijuana. He going to jail for 3 years. But the man who shipping the $12 million worth in ganja, he can't be found. Crime under this installed regime, folks. We can look at every sector under their watch and show the degradation since August 2nd, 2020. Every sector we can look at. And the security sector is just one. The security sector is just one. But when the National Security Advisor could be telling the Prime Minister on the issue of COVID, we can't lock down because we ain't got enough people and guns to police. Where are we? Where are we? Folks who are now joining the live stream, we encourage you to share the live stream. And we want to see those emojis as well. And we understand that they give us blackout because they don't want you to get the credible and valid information. That's what's happening here, you know. They give you blackout so that you can get the valid and credible information. But Guyanese smart. We big. We big people, but we ain't stupid. We big, but we ain't stupid. So we're seeing crime spiral. And again, you got a 2-ton cocaine bus. You got 1,100 pounds cocaine bus. But where are the intellectual authors? Have they seen a court step? Have they even seen a police station step? No. Here, 12 million worth in ganja seized. But where are the intellectual authors? And just the other day we showed you a man with 3 grams of ganja gone to jail for 3 years. And while the big fishes known by this install regime, the big fishes known by this install regime, they get to walk scotch-free. Mark Doris, Sharon Costello Edwards, Ewart, Anthony Perry, Wayne, Bob, Deborah, Halley, Michelle McKay, they get to walk scotch-free. Folks, this install regime getting from bad to worse. And within no time, they can go from worse to worse. Folks, if you're not accustomed to the Guyanese dialect, the Guyanese parlance and vernacular, our apologies. We'll have a dictionary shortly for you guys. 12 million worth in ganja found at Scottsburg. But where are the intellectual authors tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the COVID surgeon, Frank name calling as COVID surge. Well, this is where the real problem there now. Because it's big fight in the private sector commission, whether to lock down or not. To lock down or to not lock down? That is the question. That is the question. The government has no handle on COVID. And it is clear as day that it has decided its policy is to make money against preserving the health and safety and lives of Guyanese. It is clear as day. And we will show you. We will show you. You will hear for yourself how we have come to the conclusion that it is clear as day. It is money over lives. It is money over the health of the citizenry. We will prove to you conclusively Mark Ferreira, Nikki Innes, Magnell Barrow, Osafa Anderson, Laverne Harrichland, Kelman Passat. Folks, if there's any night you should be sharing this live program, this live stream, it is tonight. Share it to your friend, the side chick, the main squeeze. Share it to your husband, your wife. Share it back on YouTube, back on WhatsApp. People can watch the program right there on WhatsApp. So there's a COVID surge. Just today, hundreds more test positive for COVID-19, 438 to be precise. And the authorities are telling us that there are 6,000 isolating at home. Hopefully, you think they got 6,000 people in this country staying home who got COVID? You think so? You think we got a discipline? You got 6,000 people who got COVID and they're just home isolating in this country here? You know why they got 6,000 home isolating? Because the government has not put any measures in place to have facilities in where people can isolate in these numbers. That's the first problem that we have. The first problem. So it's just guessing. There is no back tracing being done anymore where COVID-19 is concerned. And that is why, with the advent of the Omicron variant, the Delta variant, and now the IMU variant, we see the numbers going up daily. And that is why just today, we're seeing 438 people being infected with COVID. And we believe that these numbers, we believe the authorities are fudging the numbers. We do not believe these numbers are accurate at all. As a matter of fact, we believe that these numbers are very, very conservative as to where COVID-19 really is. Very, very conservative numbers. And so the health minister should resign. That's number two. What we're seeing, a number of schools as well, a number of schools have shut their door to face-to-face learning. Well, the ministry happy about this, The Ministry of Education, on the Priya Malik Chan and them boys, they're not happy about this at all. But Bishop's High School, for instance, said, no, not us. We are for the health and preservation of human life, that of our students and our teachers. And the COVID numbers are too great. The spike is too high for us to risk that. And so the Bishop's High School is there with a number of other schools that took the decision upon themselves, between the school and the governance board, to close the doors to face-to-face learning. And who can blame them when you see one day 800 plus positive COVID-19 cases? The futsal match, the tournament, that super spreader there. Don't we have to see 500 cases today? But you think these guys concerned about that? No. Money government. That is the theme. That is the mantra of this install regime. Folks, wherever you're joining us from this evening, unless you have blackout where you are, share the live stream for us. Share the live stream. We coming down, people. We coming down. Share the live stream wherever you guys are picking up the broadcast from this evening. We coming down. So this is the president of the Ghana Teachers Union, Mr. Mark Light. And in keeping with the spike in COVID-19, Mr. Light and his teachers had an isolation day today. Well, if you joined our podcast during lunch, below the belt, if you joined our podcast, we discussed today how the installed minister, Joe Hamilton, went to pains to point out the legality, or the illegality rather, of the teachers proceeding on an isolation day. 176 of our teachers, according to Mr. Light, tested so far positive to COVID-19. And they're arguing that they will have contracted COVID-19 from the school system. Well, Priya is saying, no. Priya's arguing against that. She said, no, they had to have contracted from the community level, because the CDC says studies have shown that the school system is the place of least transmission. She didn't quote the studies. She didn't quote the people who did the studies. But we ought to take that. We ought to take that. But the Ghana Teachers Union ain't having it. They are not having it. And so Mr. Light and his teachers had an isolation day today. They had an isolation day. Are we looking to see where this issue goes? We are looking to see where that issue goes. Following up on that, Jermaine Figueira, the Shadow Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, had a stinging statement over the weekend about that issue we referred to earlier on in our broadcast. The futsal football tournament. The futsal football tournament. That is the tournament of which an after party was held by Kashif Muhammad's house in Linden that drew hundreds of patrons. Few of them observing COVID-19 regulations and rules. And then we come now to what transpired over the weekend at the Cliff Anderson Sports Club. Again, hundreds of patrons there. Hundreds of patrons there. And few observing COVID-19 protocols. Few observing COVID-19 regulations. This has been an administration that flouts its own regulations. And so the Shadow Minister for Sports, Youth and Culture wrote against them violating COVID-19 protocols just to make money. The Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Charles Ramson, was a big sponsor of that event over the weekend. We are told Charles is very, very close friends with Kashif and Shanghai, who put forward that event. And Kashif Muhammad himself being the director of sports locally. And so a conflict of interest through and through. But this is a cabal that favors friends and family. There is no distinction between the professional and the private. The lines are blurred where the install regime is concerned. And so kudos to MP Figueira, who raised this issue, and I spoke out very, very strongly against it. But for them boys in the private sector, money got for make. That is how them boys operate in the private sector. Ladies and gentlemen, it's nice time in the private sector. Real nice time as it concerns COVID-19. They ain't got time with that, you know. All of the rules and regulations, all of the protocols are out of the window. Don't let's fool ourselves. Deborah Halley and Yvonne Daly, Dollar Sana. Money got from Mech. That is the singular theme and mantra of this administration. It's nice time. Money got from Mech. And so it didn't startle us quite recently when we heard a conversation between the installed Prime Minister, Mark Phillips, and members of the private sector, Kit Nascimento, Jerry Govaya, and Ramesh. Right? It did not startle us. Ramesh Duku, Kit Nascimento, Jerry Govaya, and Ramesh Duku. Bear in mind, folks, bear in mind, Jerry Govaya, when you hear his concerns, he is the national advisor on security. But he seems to don't give a hoot about national security. Bear in mind that. Bear in mind when you right. Bear in mind, Mark Phillips seems to want to move past this thing quickly. So here was these boys, them boys having a conversation about the Kashif and Shanghai futsal competition and what went so wrong. Them boys. And it is quite surprising and quite revealing what was said. Today, folks of all day, if you ever wanted to be a fly on the wall and to hear their conversations, you ever want to be a fly on the wall and see how the lines are blurred between private sector and government, between officials and friends, and why we say in this administration is friends and family. Take a listen. Take a listen. If you got the stomach for it, take a listen. We're going to come back on the other end with some commentary. Take a listen. Take a listen, folks.
I want to put it in order, things in order, in a correct perspective. There are weddings, there are other social activities that took place in this country where individuals, the organizers, wrote for permission. They were granted permission with the understanding that they adhere to certain protocols. The Kashif and Shanghai football tournament was one of many such activities that we granted permission to. The reality and the fact is, while the one over the river at Lenora, we hadn't so many complaints about. This one, the futsal, we had the complaints about. The organizers must take responsibility for that, yes.
Fine, Prime Minister.
Moving forward, you know, we can spend a long time trying to do a post-mortem on this. But in the same breath, if this task force shut down all activities that are sports related, shut down all activities that are entertainment related, like the cinemas, as you claim, that may not be checking for the vaccines. You know, we're gonna have an uproar from the same private sector. This is a task all of us are involved in. When things go wrong, I am not gonna preside over any, you know, pointing at fingers at anybody. All of us are involved, I said that before, and all of us are consumed. Yes, the Kashif and Shanghai, they failed us all. And we have to take corrective action.
Let me explain, Prime Minister, why I
Comrade, we have to move forward.
Prime Minister, in the interest of your next meeting,
spend a long time doing a postmortem. We can have a special meeting for this. We can have a special meeting to deal with the Kashif and Shanghai.
I need to explain, Prime Minister, with your permission, why I called it a government event. It was
Why
called
you call it a government event?
Yes, why?
I'm trying to tell you that I don't
why.
need to listen to that. You don't need to, because was not a government event.
It was
I already
openly
said that.
and actively
What
supported,
you're trying
Prime
to do,
Minister,
Kip,
by the Minister
on
of
a point of
Sport.
order, Kip, on a point of order, what you're trying to do is to argue and debate as to why you were saying to the government. I already said that it was not a government event.
I agree with you, it was not a government event. It was not a government
event.
Right. The government event, but it was
The organizers, they failed us. They failed us. We allowed this football to happen based on the understanding that they follow the guidelines, they follow the rules.
They did not. Prime Minister,
they did not, and we have to sanction them.
Yeah.
But then we can't spend a whole 2 hours discussing it as to whether or not it was a government event. Come on, let's move on.
And openly supported, Prime Minister, by the Minister of Sport.
And don't let us go there. Don't let us go there, kid.
Yeah.
Let us agree to be very objective. Let us accept that things went wrong. I am not going to preside over pointing fingers at people here. We need to fix it. Let us focus our energies on fixing what went wrong.
Yes, Prime Minister, and that brings on my next question. What are the mitigating measures that we are putting in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again, and to ensure that, you know, the COVID measures are not totally, disrespected?
You know, Ramesh, as I said, we can have a special meeting. We can call the organizers of that event, and we can have a special meeting where we could do the post-mortem, right? And come up with a set of measures as we move forward. But for the purpose of today's meeting, I think we have spent a lot of time on dealing with this, and we need to move on. We need to move on.
Yeah.
We agree, all of us agree that it's been bad, and all of us.
You have a population. Unless you put soldiers with guns, when you start having 5,000, even on the seawall, you see it. And it don't matter how you try to do moral suasion. I mean, I feel sorry for the organizers. When you have 5,000 people search forward, unless you have soldiers with guns and Dickens there with a tear gas, we run the risk. But you know what? If we cannot shut down.
That last voice there is the advisor on national security. The advisor on national security speaking there. Folks, you understand what's happening in this country with this installed regime? When the Prime Minister is saying, I am not going to preside over finger pointing, then who is to blame? Nobody to blame, and we just move forward. Folks, I have with me this evening the one and only Amanza Walton-Desir, Member of Parliament, and I have with me as well the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, and Member of Parliament as well, Coretta McDonald. I want to welcome both of them to the broadcast this evening. Welcome, ladies.
Good evening, Sharon. Good evening, Coretta.
Hi, good evening to you.
Thank you, Coretta. Just adjust a little center there for us, and we're good to go. Awesome. Now, I trust that you ladies would have had a chance to listen to this recording sometime during the afternoon when it was published. Amanza, what is your take on what you've heard?
It's interesting. I truly thought that we did have a menu of measures in place. You listen to the Prime Minister about crafting a way forward. I wondered if I was missing something. I believe there are regulations in place that would govern our conduct during this pandemic. But to hear him suggests otherwise. I'm disturbed by what I hear. Certainly, we have to be able to penalize whoever is responsible for what the PM himself has deemed a failure. To say that there is a failure and then refuse to apportion blame seems to be an oxymoron. They contradict themselves. So I see what all of that is saying is that there is a government in place that is rudderless, that does not have a clue. And may God help us as Guyanese.
May God help us indeed. And these are the folks who telling the Guyana Teachers Union, who telling our teachers, go and teach. Take 5 masks, a sanitizer, and a bottle of vitamin C and go and teach. We care about you and COVID-19. General Secretary McDonald.
Sharon, good night to you. Good night to Amanza. Good night to your viewers. I first want to comment on the audio you had there just now. I want to say, and I don't know why you're so alarmed, I'm not surprised at anything that this government do anymore. As a matter of fact, I've been saying this over the last couple of months. Money's got to make. It's payback time. And I like to make reference to what the Vice President said. And this is another campaign, another campaign promise that they're going to put a tick to. When the Vice President said, the reality is people will have to die. So tick, that's another campaign promise. We already have 1,067, and I'm just asking, what's the target number? So that you can put the full star there. Another campaign promise fulfilled. It's payback time at the detriment of the citizens, the poor and ordinary citizens of this country. And in this grouping, teachers happen to play a part. Teachers happen to fall in innocently into this. What we are seeing here is an uncaring government, a government who doesn't see the need or the importance of its human resource. If they had seen that, then we would not have had all of these mass activities that we had over the holiday period. And for the Prime Minister to come out there and to make the statements that he's making is a waste of time. And we let me remind you and your viewers, it was under Mark Phillips' stewardship as the army chief that we had soldiers poisoned. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So the man is incompetent. Not now. It's way back then. Let me bring one more to your attention. There was a football match at Denhamstel on Christmas night. The COVID task force, they were not granting permission because they recognized the amount of persons who would have been turning up there. You know what happened? It is alleged that the Prime Minister himself called and said, this is we think, fix it right.
Yep.
So this show that he's coming to put on there, don't bad with that facade. It's fake.
It's a big show indeed. It's a big show indeed. And you know, for those persons who are now joining the broadcast, folks, I want you to share the live stream so our international stakeholders around the world, people can see what kind of government we have here. It is rules for some people, and some people don't have to play by the same rules. Folks, allow us to show this clip one more time for those persons who might not be joining our broadcast, and we'll pick up the commentary on the other end.
I want to put it in order, things in order, in a correct perspective. There are weddings, there are other social activities that took place in this country where individuals, the organizers, wrote for permission. They were granted permission with the understanding that they adhered to certain protocols. The Kashif and Shanghai football tournament was one of many such activities that we granted permission to. The reality and the fact is, while the one over the river at Lenora, we hadn't so many complaints about. This one, the futsal, we had the complaints about. The organizers must take responsibility for that, yes.
Fine, Prime Minister.
Moving forward, you know, we can spend a long time trying to do a post-mortem on this. But in the same breath, if this task force shut down all activities that are sports related, shut down all activities that are entertainment related, like the cinemas, as you claim, that may not be checking for the vaccines. You know, we're gonna have an uproar from the same private sector. This is a task all of us are involved in. When things go wrong, I am not gonna preside over any, you know, pointing at fingers at anybody. All of us are involved, I said that before, and all of us are consumed. Yes, the Kashif and Shanghai, they failed us all. And we have to take corrective action.
Let me explain, Prime Minister, why I
Comrade, we have to move forward.
Prime Minister, in the interest of your next meeting,
spend a long time doing a postmortem. We can have a special meeting for this. We could have a special meeting to deal with the Kashif and Shanghai.
I need to explain, Prime Minister, with your permission, why I called it a government event. It was
Why
called
you call it a government event?
Yes, why?
I'm trying to tell you that I don't need to listen to that. You don't need to, because was not a government event.
It was openly and actively supported,
what you're trying to do,
by the Minister of
Sport. On a point of order, what you're trying to do is to argue and debate as to why you were saying to the government. I already said that it was not a government event.
I agree with you, it was not a government event. It was not a government event.
Right. The government event, but it was
the organizers, they failed us. They failed us. We allowed this football to happen based on the understanding that they follow the guidelines, they follow the rules.
They did not. Prime Minister,
they did not, and we have to sanction them.
Yeah.
But then we was discussing it as to whether or not it was a government event. Come on, let's move on.
And openly supported, Prime Minister, by the Minister of Sport.
And don't let us go there. Don't let us go there, kid.
Yeah.
Let us agree to be very objective. Let us accept that things went wrong. I am not going to preside over pointing fingers at people here. We need to fix it. Let us focus our energies on fixing what went wrong.
Yes, Prime Minister, and that brings on my next question. What are the mitigating measures that we are putting in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again, and to ensure that, you know, the COVID measures are not totally, disrespected?
You know, Ramesh, as I said, we can have a special meeting. We can call the organizers of that event, and we can have a special meeting where we could do the post-mortem, right? And come up with a set of measures as we move forward. But for the purpose of today's meeting, I think we have spent a lot of time on dealing with this, and we need to move on. We need to move on.
Yeah.
We agree, all of us agree that it's been bad, and all of us.
You have a population. Unless you put soldiers with guns, when you start having 5,000, even on the seawall, you see it. And it don't matter how you try to do moral suasion. I mean, I feel strongly for the organizers. When you have 5,000 people search forward, unless you have soldiers with guns and AKs there with a tear gas, we run the risk. But you know what? If we cannot shut down.
Ladies, members of parliament, it is the soldiers with the guns for me, and that piece being added there by the National Security Advisor Jerry Gavaya. That's the piece for me, really and truly. Unless we put soldiers with guns, everything for him comes down to soldiers and guns, right? We really can't curb COVID-19. Is that so?
Sorry. Sharon, you know what counts for me is that several ministers have been failing us, not only
all of them, all these jagabats, all of them.
Ms. Truth, the Minister of Health, we don't talk about anti-prayer. The Minister of Sports, he was there. He was right there.
Yep. The Bishop was there too. The false prophet, Jill.
Come on.
He was there as well. Just before Amanza comes in, a dear friend of mine over the weekend sent me a clip of part of one of the campaign material in Barbados. And, as I listened to it, it occurred to me that if we had an election here, right, what will we be voting for these guys on? Because right now we're supposed to be having local government elections. In this clip, I want to play for you. Folks around the region, around the world. This is the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Motley. She's identifying a checklist. And she's saying, vote for us for these reasons. Their campaign team, it's safer with Mia and the BLP. It is safer with Mia and the BLP. Listen to Mia's checklist. Folks, I know a lot of trenches on here. I know a lot of PP supporters will be listening to us. Don't listen to us. Listen to Mia Motley's checklist and see if you would vote for the PPP. If we have an election happening now, listen to the checklist, and then Amanza will take you, and then Coretta at the other end.
There's much talk about voting for an opposition, and I hear it, and I understand Barbadians' sense of fairness. But I warn you that when you vote for an opposition, you may end up with a government you didn't want. Can the country afford that at this time? I say not. And if it happens, will we accept it? Of course we will. But at the end of the day, we already know what the consequences of mismanagement and lack of leadership are. They are too recent in our memory, and we bore the consequences and carry the scars still on us. I ask Barbados, I ask Barbadians to recognize that this is a party that is seeking your mandate, that has not abused power, that has not abused its responsible positions, and that has sought simply not only to make you safe in your homes and in your communities, but has also made us safe and regarded internationally as someone for whom the benefit of the doubt can be given and someone worthy of partnership for us to be able to reach the stars. I ask you simply on January 19th to give the Barbados Labour Party team, all of the 30 candidates are coming to you, give them a hearing, but above all else, I ask you to vote for the candidates of the Barbados Labour Party on January 19th, 2022. Thank you, and may God bless this nation, and may God bless the integrity of our democratic process, because we have always known how to conduct our business and to do so with integrity, with transparency, and with fairness. Thank you, and God bless this nation and our people.
That's the checklist right there. Amanza, we have not abused our power. We have not abused our positions. We have made the country safe in our communities, in our villages, and we have improved our international standing. How would you rate these jagabats here using that?
Well, it's the exact opposite here. The PPPC has not managed to accomplish or even come close to realizing any of those very, very important indicators of good governance. And, it is not surprising that they have put off LG. I believe that they have deliberately
Yep.
not
I'm with you
made the
there.
effort to have local government elections because they know it will be a referendum against them and their incompetence. There is no doubt that there is a complete and total breakdown of law and order in Guyana. There is no doubt that the government has shown itself to be manifestly incompetent. And what compounds that incompetence, Sherrod, is their refusal to reach across the political aisle and to access, the assistance of the parliamentary opposition. It is a stark indicator that they really do not care about the people of Guyana, because if you did care, they would be humble enough to say, look, this is an issue that affects all Guyanese. Let us have all hands on deck. COVID is out of control. Crime is out of control. The cost of living is skyrocketing. The reality is that Guyanese are suffering. And I wonder if from a psychosocial perspective, the reaction of our people to seemingly disregarding that there's COVID there, I can't help but wonder whether it is not a coping mechanism.
But in the midst of that, we understand too, Coretta and Amanza, that leadership has a responsibility to lead.
No, I'm not discounting. I'm not discounting the leadership's responsibility to lead. This is an issue that cascades across several issues,
Point taken.
and so you can tackle it from enforcement. But if you do not stop to assess the psychosocial implications of just what it means, that kind of conduct is generally a manifestation of we just feel helpless, we feel hopeless, and that has to be considered, which is why it makes the job of the government and the ability of the government to inspire, I would say, proper conduct in its citizenry. If you notice how Barbados dealt with the pandemic,
Yep,
they
very frontally.
crossed the aisle. It was a fully bipartisan approach. Government and opposition work together. You look at those countries where there is a successful fight against COVID, and that is a key feature, a bipartisan approach.
PPP know everything. They need nobody. They
But
know everything.
all evidence to the contrary. All evidence to the contrary. They clearly know nothing about how this is to be handled. Frank Anthony is always supposing and suspecting. He's never sure. And you just, what you see in that conversation is blame shifting. One man said, oh, it's the government thing. The government said, no, it's now we thing. And that comes because there is no clear plan. There is no clear agenda. There is just not a sense of what good governance is. So everybody doing their own thing.
It appears to me, Amanza, anybody who got a little thing could call the prime minister and get their thing pushed through, because
this is what it appears to be. And we have to be cognizant that the breakdown of law and order in any society comes about because there is a perception that those in power have no regard for law and order. So them up there care and we ain't got for care down here either. And that is what causes society to degenerate, which is why being in government and governance, Sherrod, is a serious thing. Because the society looks to you to set the level of operation. And when you see lawlessness, when you see private citizens with sirens blaring, when you see private citizens who may be wealthy having police escort and are buzzing around the city with sirens of police escorting them, people are like, well, clearly this is Cheto's land, so we might as well operate like we in the Wild Wild West.
Yep.
So you have that cascading effect. And so I want our people to understand That, as old people that said, the rat does always start from the head. They don't start from nowhere else. And the strength that we have in society right now is because the PPPC is a rotten government.
Point taken. Point taken. As Coretta jumps in, we know that the kinds of travails that the Ghana Teachers Union is facing is not an idiosyncrasy of the union. This is replicated in the police force. It's in the army. It's in the immigration officers corps there. It is throughout the country. COVID is so prevalent, and the Omicron variant, who, as Amanza says, Frank rather suspects, is percolating locally. We know that the teachers union had the day of isolation. What comes next, Coretta, MP McDonald?
All right. First of all, Cheryl, allow me to say thank you to our teachers across this country and to the parents across this country. Isolation Monday 2022 was a success. It made its impact. As a matter of fact, we have never seen so many education officers in the fields, ensuring that pipes were fixed here and pipes were fixed there, and that toilets are working and we're having water and we have enough sanitizers. Yes, and that's what they ought to do. And so I want to thank again our parents for heeding the call, and they've kept their children home, and to the teachers who heeded the call. But of course, we had some schools that were open. You had some teachers in school, but like everything else, the PPP, I noticed they were posting a whole lot of pictures, but you notice how they're posting the pictures scanty. One from the whole of River Coast, one picture. One for the whole of Region 3, 2 pictures. No, when you go to post pictures and you're talking about getting 85 and 75% success, you must show pictures across the country, but they can't show that because they're discounted. As a matter of fact, let me highlight this one here quickly. The president is the head teacher of Porthmoron Secondary School.
Mr. Mark Light.
Mr. Mark Light. He is on secondment just like I am. So he's not heading that school. The school has a different, the deputy head teacher, she's acting head. At that school, first they had half day because of the amount of children who were there, and children were displaying signs of symptoms, flu-like signs and symptoms. If my memory serves me right, there were 6 teachers present at school. But you know what the evening news said tonight? At Mark Light School, there was full turnout. All the teachers were present. But tomorrow, we'll fix that part of it tomorrow. As a matter of fact, the reporter, when he was called, he said he was given a script to read and he had to read the script.
Wow.
But Isolation Monday 2021, it was a success. With all the trials and all the seemingly pressures that they're trying to put on our teachers understand what this is all about. They understand that we cannot go blindly and recklessly to fight COVID. More so with all the variants that we're having, we cannot rush in there to fight them blindly. We have to put systems in place. And the GTU is not saying that we should not have schools. We're asking, first of all, we said to the Ministry of Education when they met with us on All Year's Day, we said to them, reschedule the reopening of school from January 3rd to January 10th. And that would give us a good footing, because we'll get a feel of all those who are not well. It would give them enough time to stay at home. We are going to see all the signs and the symptoms. We'll use the opportunity to fix the pipes that are not working, where we have no running water. We'll fix the toilets. We'll have the sanitizers in schools. We'll have enough furnishing in schools. So we wouldn't have 3 in a bench and 2 in benches. They couldn't heed that call. And so school reopened on Monday the 3rd, and we had a number of schools that were closed during last week. We have a number of teachers who came out positive with COVID. And then I see the stupid Minister of Education, that wild-up girl, who went out there to say that
It's the wild for
students
me.
are not contracting the virus in school. They're contracting it elsewhere. I don't know which science told her that. I'd be happy for her to give us the evidence. But again, while up rape, that's how she behaves. No proper evidence, but she goes out there to say all kinds of things. While she's saying that, Frank Anthony is urging teachers and the students to take the vaccine so that they can be safe. I mean, if you want people to be safe, then you're not going to have all these big jump-ups that you would have had at the Fort Hall.
It's a no-brainer.
The street party in Linden, and all the others that you had all over the place. You know, and so for me, the GTU will continue to do what it's mandated to do, and that is to protect the lives of our teachers and by extension, our learners and their families. We will continue to do that. And we will continue to force people like Pulauri Joe to come out and make more threats. Come and make more. You know, you know what I find damning is the fact that the Prime Minister is saying Kashif and Shanghai failed us. Nobody came out with any word of condemnation. Not a single soul.
Yeah, where is the penalty? Here is Joe talking about taking out a day's pay from teachers who want to safeguard the students and themselves. A day pay. But where is the penalty for Kashif and Shanghai?
You know,
right? Don't let us point fingers, is what the Prime Minister says.
Yep. Nobody came out to offer any word except the coalition and the opposition members to condemn that. But as soon as the teachers union issued a call for a day of isolation, you jump out there to threaten them, to tell them that they're not going to be paid and it's illegal. And so I had to respond to Pulauri Joe to let him know, not even labor is his thing. And so education
is his thing. Pulauri.
Stay away from that. Stay away from education. It's not your thing. Because Pulauri Joe himself doesn't understand that if we were to carry out a campaign in this country, according to the law, many of our schools, plenty of our schools would be closed because they are not in accordance with what the law regulates.
Yeah.
So Pulauri Joe, many times he doesn't understand what he's saying. And again, he was given a script because if you recognize, there were some times when he couldn't even follow where he was, when he stopped off. So we understand that.
Yeah.
But our teachers will continue to stand because this is not a matter that is isolated and teachers are exempted from it. Teachers are going to be consumed in this if they don't take the rightful stand. Yeah. And so I want to urge parents that if you don't send your children into schools, there'll be no schools. I have visited schools today and I've seen children displaying flu-like symptoms and they are in school, you know. Teachers who are fearful are displaying flu-like symptoms and they were in school today.
Wow.
A teacher tested positive for COVID.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, teachers...
Folks, I hope you all sharing the live stream tonight.
A particular head teacher and another teacher in her school tested positive for COVID today, and they were still in school because of fear. But I want to say to all of us, if we don't hold hands together and fight not only the one pandemic, which is COVID, but we have two pandemics in this country, COVID and the PPP.
Correct.
If we don't hold hands together and fight these two pandemics, we will have a campaign promise fulfilled. People will have to die. But Sherrod, I want to sum up my little bit by saying, with regards to Mia's takeoff checklist, I would want to differ from Amanza to say that I would give the PPP a big A. A big A. And the A that I am going to give to the PPP is A for atrocious. That's what I'll give to them.
I knew something was coming.
That's what I'll give to them.
I knew something was coming.
That's what I'll give to them.
Amanza, where are we as a country? I think Coretta couldn't put it in any starker terms. You got a group of people who organize a super spreader They ain't get no penalty. Teachers trying to prevent super spreaders, and then get a day subtracted from their pay. Why we there as a people? Why we so upside down? Why we so back to front?
Sad.
Jared, we have been saddled, unfortunately, with an incompetent regime. And I want to make the point here that elections have consequences.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why we must understand that it is important that when you're going to exercise that franchise, that you do it from a position of soundness. Because I guarantee you, as we are seeing, elections have consequences. And so we have been saddled with an incompetent regime. We have been saddled with a regime that has no interest in the people of Guyana, not even their own supporters. I want to make it very clear that the PPPC is elitist. They are only concerned with their friends and family. And they are very disrespectful to their own supporters because they operate as if all we have to do is to put propaganda out there and they will bite it. That is the attitude that the PPPC brings. And they insult the intelligence of their supporters and the Guyanese people on the whole. I keep making the point that the PPPC is not ready for the information age. Because most things that they say can be disproven in 5 minutes just by simple research and just by simple fact checking. And so they continue to lie. They continue to lie.
Like when horse trotting.
Yes, they continue to expose themselves. Look at the vice president, for example, that made all of the promises about sugar being reopened and very quietly the other day admitted that, you know what, this can't happen. We as a people, and I'm speaking now as citizen Amanza, have to understand that we got the power. The power is with we. And we have the power to set up a government and we have the power to remove a government. That is the power of the citizenry. And so Joe Hamilton and all of these people who are coming to push fear into the hearts of Guyanese understand that they can only succeed when you become afraid.
Yep.
If every Guyanese decides to take a stand and say, you know what, this is madness, we're not going to subscribe to this madness, you will see how very quickly things will change. But the reality is that there are those amongst us who will not want to stand in solidarity because of their own personal benefit and gain. And so this is why you see the unions are being infiltrated and the unity of unions. The PPP understands the power of labor and that labor can make or break a government. And so what they have been doing is infiltrating the unions, personally benefiting, I mean business Huvex, personally benefiting certain people in the unions to discourage labor from doing what labor can do in one day. If labor wishes,
I so agree with you.
One day this government can shape, but we are so divided, and our leaders have become so selfish and so much in pursuit of their own narrow self-interest that they are willing to sacrifice the people of Guyana at the altar of political
Literally.
PNC.
And this is life and death, literally sacrifice.
This is life and death. I keep making the point, Sherrod, we got 750,000 people here. It's not supposed to be like this. But it is like this because as a people, we are divided. And they take amongst our own to divide us.
But Amanza,
yes,
we can't have 750,000 anymore because don't forget, is 1,067 died from COVID plus others. So it's not 750 anymore. The number is smaller now.
It probably is. And we birth rate declining. So
Things
Sharon,
like
Sharon, I want to say to the people of Guyana, y'all please hear what we are saying to you tonight. There is a window of opportunity available to us to right this ship.
Mhm.
And if we do not take that opportunity, our children and our children's children will eat the bread of sorrow. I'm sorry to
Yep.
say it like that, but I feel very strongly about it. There's so much at stake. It's not even about the oil wealth. You notice people, Exxon finding oil every day and not a soul in really care?
Yep. Yep.
Because Guyanese have come to understand that this trickle down isn't working.
Yes.
So you finding oil out there is not benefiting me. I still got to pay $300 a pound for planting. For planting.
360 in some places.
What about edibles and sweet potatoes that we grow right here? Things that we grow
Here,
right here, right
Things
here.
like
You don't have a supply chain issue with these things. I'm hearing there's a flood, there's a double flood. Okay, but these are realities. Climate change is a reality. As a government, what mitigating measures are you putting in place
None.
to cushion the effects of this from
None.
Guyanese? The reality is
None.
in Guyana, the rich is simply getting richer and the poor is getting poorer. Meanwhile, we are distracted by who holding an umbrella for who and who sharing out what. And there is so much more at stake. And I'm saying to the people of Guyana, we have to, as I said before, hold a focus. This year, hold a focus. Keep your eyes on the prize. And that prize is demanding from government a better standard of living for Guyanese. Sure,
correct.
I wasn't sure I was going to come on your program tonight because GPL take the light at 8:45.
Yep. Yep.
I wasn't sure. 50 something years after independence.
We
The
still battling
DPIS,
blackout.
the
Yep.
Barbies interconnected system always tripping out, always shutting down.
Yep.
Always.
We are in crisis. And the people of Guyana, I'm saying to us that the answer lies with us. Nobody's going to come to rescue us. We got to rescue ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to rescue ourselves. They're never permanent friends, only permanent interests. And so whoever comes to your aid internationally, it is because it is expedient for them to do so at that particular point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And as interests change, your friends change. We got to rescue ourselves. We have to rescue our future generations. We have not yet begun to see and understand the fallout from that Natural Resource Fund bill that was passed. My God, Jared,
Too much.
like we
It's too much.
warned that sugar was dead, and we have lived to see the very people who say, oh, we don't want to employ sugarcane farmers and we're against the sugar industry. We have seen
20 months later, not an estate reopen.
but hundreds of billions of dollars later, an admission that we were wrong. What could those hundreds of billions of dollars, what could that money have done to improve the lives and livelihood of Guyanese? We have to start dealing with these matters front and center. We're very, very top. And we do not understand that we are being, like I always use this analogy, we're being robbed of a car, being given a bicycle, and we must be happy about it.
Smile and move on.
Well,
Smile and move on.
Amanza, I think you went too far. We're not getting the bicycle, we're getting a scooter. The one that you got to hold and push with your foot. That's what we're getting. Bicycle too expensive. That's what we're getting.
You might have a point.
I know.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
It is crazy.
I can understand
Could you
the exasperation.
Could you
Final word goes
imagine
to Coretta.
Sharon and, could you imagine Sharon and Amanza and our viewers that your little baby at 3, 6, 3, 9, they are forced to be out in schools when we have a pandemic? Could you imagine that?
Because the minister wants nice.
And these people talking about because we care.
As the catfish and minister one look nice.
We know that children learn through interaction and play. Our nursery school babies can't play in schools now. They got to be sitting at a desk and the teacher saying, keep your mask on, keep your mask. When the Minister of Education can't keep hers on, you look at her in Parliament, every minute she's taking it off.
That's
but
where we are.
You're telling my 3-9, keep a mask on. You're telling my 3-9, don't hug his or her friend. Don't go to peep in somebody's in your friend lunch bowl. And these are things that children do and they have fun about it. And so we're saying that UNICEF and everybody is saying schools, the doors of schools must not be closed. Our schools must be open. But you know what? A teacher who is sick cannot teach. And a child that is dead or who is dead can't learn. So parents, I am saying to you, it is better to delay your child another couple of months, but you know for sure that your child is going to be alive and well. We have asked the Ministry of Education, and I'm saying we here, the GTU, to let's go out there, engage the Minibus Association and the traffic department, and let's talk to them about pulling some buses from all the routes. And these buses are going to be used specifically for picking up and dropping off school children. It's not at the expense of the government. The children will pay their regular fares, but these are the buses that are going to be used for schools in every zone across this country. That wasn't a campaign promise, so they couldn't carry through with that. That was coming from the GTU. So, you know, and so our children are left now at the mercies of the minibus drivers and conductors when they pack them like sardines, 4 and how many in a bus, in a seat. You know, and if this government had cared, they would have reduced the seating capacity. Now, you're talking about Mia Martley as your friend. Look at what she did in her country. Look at what has happened in St. Lucia and in Trinidad and everywhere else.
But hey.
And compare that to what is happening here. Here is free for all. But again, like Amanza said, the power lies in the hands of me, you, Amanza, every parent out there, every viewer who was listening to us and watching us. The power lies in our hands. And we got to stop jumping around the place and shifting the goalpost and thinking that it's somebody else who must take on our fight for us. All of us have got to get in the ring, because everything that stands outside of the ring will have a pointed knife to bore at every single one of us if we are not certain and if we don't take a stand. So the time has come for us to be, like Amanza would always say, hold a focus. Focus on what is the price out there. And our price out there is not the oil. Our prices are our children who are going to be the future leaders of tomorrow. If we don't make it right for them today, they're doomed tomorrow. And you know what will happen? And you saw that where the Guyana police force, they were given extra money to buy more ammunition and guns. The police will shoot them on the streets. And many more mothers will return to the days of prior to May 11, 2015, when we were singing that new national anthem. How many more, Jah? Many more mothers will cry for their children, because when they cannot seek legal employment because they don't have the requirements, they have to live, they have to eat, and they will come knocking on the doors of those who they presume to have. And so this is serious times. And serious times demands serious actions. And so I want to say to our people, if you've never been more serious in your life, you better get serious now and start thinking about what our children will have to face. We've already established ourselves. We've already made our marks. Our children are the ones who have got this life to live. Now, let me go a little further. We have PXE certain exams. And with all the trauma that our children are going through, this uncaring government, they can't say to CXC, we want you to start looking at this time frame for the exams. We want you to start looking at the cost that you're putting on our people. You know, the thing is, again, if there is no us, then there's no CXC. CXC
Correct.
can't operate without us, as our money's paying them. But this government, they're satisfied to know that they can jump up to say, oh, we've topped the Caribbean. In spite of, we've topped the Caribbean. Who helping you to top the Caribbean? The hardworking teachers out there who you don't recognize. But again, the power lies in our hands. And if we don't do it today, we're all going to be consumed tomorrow.
Fantastic, fantastic. MPs Coretta McDonald, Amanza Walton-Desir, it's been our privilege having you guys in the ring this evening. Again, always sharing from the depth and the breadth of your knowledge and your wisdom on these myriad issues here that we're trying to find a way forward in this country of ours with these chagabats at the helm, folks. Thanks for joining us this evening. Folks, that's our program this evening. We went a little bit over program time, but we're so thankful that over 4,000 of you joined our program live this evening. Who could ask for more? And 4,000 of you still watching us. We went just a little bit over program time this evening, but you understand with the weight of the issues we're dealing with locally, this pandemic that is taking on epic proportions, guys, we had to bring you this additional information, and we trust that you guys have received it well, and we continue to say we cannot do these shows without you guys. So why don't you come on board and partner with us? We want to give a shout out as usual just before we go to all the fantastic people who keep joining us. Leslin Tom, good to see you there. Leslin Tom, home at the moment, enjoying a little rest and recuperation from hard work for the North. Glad to have you. Hope you're spending your time well and you're getting that much needed rest and you're getting all that you need to get done. Good to see you, Leslin Tom. Good to see you, Patricia Kisoon as well. Urban Don Cook, Veronica Primo Rollins, Auntie Sandra Hanover, Merlin DeYoung, Jackie Baird, Glennis, Romeo Sinclair, Wilton Blue. Good to see you, Shawnette, Sicharan, Mohan. Good to see all you fantastic folks. Folks, that's our time this evening. Thanks for joining us in the ring. We couldn't do it without you. Come on board and partner with us. We got Cash App, we got Western Union, we got MoneyGram, we have PayPal, we got MMG. Pick one, folks, and come on board, support us monthly so that we can keep moving these programs forward. We can build out our programs, we can advance new programs as well. Thanks for joining us this evening. That's our time. Good to see you again. Good to see you. Leslin Tom, Margaret Craig. I see Jackie Baird is here with us. Romeo Sinclair, Sandra Davis, Errol DeFreitas, George Campbell, and all you other fantastic folks. Folks, before you go, why don't you share that live stream for us so that other folks can benefit from this information? Why don't you share the program for us? Back to your profiles, back to a page, back to a group. I'm certain you're in some group on social media. Share it back to that group. Send the link to a friend via Facebook and let them see what happened in this catfish country we call the Cooperative Oil Producing Republic. Thank you guys for joining us. Stay safe. That's our program this evening, guys. That's our program. Stay safe.